Hello everyone, and welcome back to episode 4 of the world of Nareus and adventure 3 of our adventurers. As I recall, the adventurers return back and report that the caves had collapsed further south last time. They also reported that they had found near the cave collapse a group of unfamiliar humanoids that were living there, and they tried to interface with them, but they didn't respond, so they left them alone. While adventuring down there, they found an old statue that was pretty much hard to recognize what it was, but they did do a rubbing of some words on the back on some parchment that Alindra had, so they brought that back to town. They also found inside of a small hidden door and a small little hidden trap area, they found some money and some gems, and they also found a ring, a dagger, a pendant, and a longsword. So they brought all this stuff back to town, and they reported what they had found, and the watch commander, Sten, was very impressed, and so he told them that he would help them understand what that word was that they found on the rubbing, and he also directed them to a local alchemist / magician who would actually help them discover what they had found. So after a day or so of looking at the parchment and also having a moment to test all the equipment, they found out that they had found a ring of jumping, a dagger +1, a pendant of Aluma, and the longsword was not magical, but it was actually an ebon blade with silver edge. And from what they can understand, it's not magical, but it's very sharp, and it also counts as a silver weapon and a cold wrought iron weapon versus certain creatures that could be very deadly. The pendant gives a caster that uses arcane magic the ability to reduce the cost of any spell by 1 mana 15% of the time. So anytime, which Alindra will wear this pendant because she worships, she is a spellcaster. She worships Talari, but she does see Aluma as one of her beneficiaries. So she's going to wear that. And the dagger was given to Thorum, and Jaren and Alindra, they played draughts for who would get the ring, and Jaren barely won, so he is now wearing the ring of jumping. Also, the sword that Jaren he's using the ebon blade since he uses a long sword, and it actually provides a +1 to hit. It's not magical, but it's just a well-designed blade. It's very, very well designed. So they spend the day after, relaxing and getting rested up, and eventually the local wizard and the local alchemist / magician comes in and says he can't decipher the words on the rubbing, but he knows somebody in R that can, so he asked if it would be all right to send it down to R on the next shipment down there to have it translated. So they agreed, and they say sure. They have stuff to do here in town, so they're not planning on going, but they will wait, to find out what it means. So it's been sent off. They're getting used to their equipment. They're getting cleaned up. They're getting the daily day resting and stuff done. And that evening, Sten Doran, the watch commander, approaches them in the tavern where they are resting and having a good time. And he basically asks them, he says, would you please help out? A shipment that came from a small settlement called the Haavermill settlement is late. And it should have been here a few days ago, but it's now hasn't made it. And he is asking if the group would go and investigate. He says he can't spare many individuals because the watch is very busy in town, and the ravaging line is always busy, and that is people are coming and going in town to move up there and come back down. So he needs as many people he can on the watch as possible, but he is willing to send 2 young soldiers with him to help investigate. And he also promises them that, or offers them some temporary loan of horses to get there quickly. Right now, if you look on the map, it's the Haavermill settlement's right here. There's this road here that travels down. That'll help them get there quickly, but it's off the beaten road. But there is a trail path that gets to the Haavermill road, and it continues through. And there's several settlements along this ridge line of forest and stuff. It is actually right at the edge of the forest, and it's about a 1.5 day journey with horses. So they agree, and they decide to get a good night's rest, and they will meet Sten in the morning at the stables to get the horses, and they will also meet the other adventurers or the soldiers going with them. So the next morning, after a good rest, and while they stayed up a little later than they should have, having some drinks and some good food at the Sporting Boar, they meet Sten at the stables, and there he introduces the 2 soldiers going with him. They're Brax and Tark, and they're young soldiers. They're going to be 0 level at this time, and I'm going to make them have 6 hit points. They each have a long sword, a dagger, and a short bow if needed, and they are considered level 0. They are trained in their weapons, but they will not get any level bumps to hit. But they have a long sword, dagger, short bow, and some arrows, and some food, and obviously some tack for what they need to get to back and forth on the journey. So they get up their horses, they get all the stuff going, and they get their supplies ready, and they take off. And the first day is pretty much journeying down the road, and they generally get right about here to rest. So they decide to pull off, and there are some homesteads and some ranches and stuff along here, and they basically ask if they could stay in one of the stables or something to, not have a roof over their head, and they offer to pay a little bit of money to one of the ranchers, and the rancher agrees. They get a nice place to rest. They have an evening. There's nothing disturbing, nothing happens to them while they're resting, which is good. They need their good rest. So the next day they get up early so they can make it into the Haavermill settlement as fast as they can. So as they travel down the road, they get off, and they come off of a road here, and they go down it's a less traveled path. It's still dirt, and it looks like it's been used, but it's not been used as much as this road, along this road. And they keep going, and they get about a mile off from where they can see the buildings and stuff, and they all decide to stop for a second. Jaron pulls up and says, let's stop here for a second, regroup, and discuss what we're going to do. And so they pull off the side, and they start discussing their plans. So the adventurers approach the adventurers approach the farmstead, and they're a little bit off the map, but I'll put this marker here. They're probably another inch or so off this map. And they basically start, let's survey, and Jaron says, let us survey a little bit what's going on here before we move in to the farmstead. Obviously there's farm out here, there's probably farm over here too, but they were heading this direction and they came upon it. This looks like a lot of the ground has been it appears this area has been harvested, and so over here, and it looks like it was grain they left over. You could see the gleaning and stuff out on the farms, out on the stuff, and it looks like they had just finished the harvesting for the first part of the season. And there's some houses here. There's a large barn slash storage facility, and some houses and some other work houses and stuff. And generally they, from what they've understood, there's probably about 3 families that live here, and probably 12 to 15 individuals, including farm hands and other people that work the farm. So Jaron decides to have everybody pull off and put the horses behind these tree lines. So they actually draw their horses up to here, and they decide to leave them here in this spot here, if you can see that. They put some put some grain out, and they put some they keep them hobbled so they can't run off, but they also tie them just on a loose rope against some trees so they don't run off. And then Jaren says, let me have a few moments to scout. So he says, Alindra is actually good at this too. So they both decide to sneak forward a little bit and see what's going on. And they make stealth checks, or move silently, I will say. So she gets a +2 to this, which she's going to get her level +2 plus her dex bonus, which she gets a 6, 7. That's 4, 2, 6, 7. That's 11, and he gets his dex bonus, and that is also. So he seems to move quietly, but she's not paying attention a little bit, and she starts stepping on a couple of branches and loose leaves out here, and he stops and says, we got to be really quiet here. We don't know what's going on. And she apologizes. So the others are staying back a little bit. Thorum with the 2 soldiers, Brax and Tark, are back here, and then the other scouts are moving forward here. So they get about to here, and they start keeping an eye out what's going on. They don't see any activity on the farm. They're like, well, it's interesting. There's nothing going on. It's right now it's probably about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. It should be some activity on the farm. And there's the only smoke they see is coming from the big barn area. Everything else seems to be quiet and closed down. So he recommends that they move a little bit closer. So both Alindra and Jaren move forward, and they both roll really well. So she got a +7 to this, so 23, and he gets a +4 plus his level. So he gets a 20. So they're pretty. So they move up to here, and if anybody's trying to spot them, would have to kind of beat that number to see if they could find it and spot them. But so far they don't see anything. And then they hear a scream. They don't know where it came from, except for it came from over in this direction. And it didn't sound like a scream of happiness. It sounded like something was happening, like somebody being, like a scream of pain or torture. And so they both jerk a little bit, and they kind of like steel themselves for what's going to happen. So they basically move back to here, tell everybody to move forward. They tell Tark to move up to here and stay in the tree line, but have his bow ready just in case. And the others will move down to here and go all the way around. So they're trying to stay along the tree line. Unfortunately, Thorum and Brax are not trained in the moving silently very well. Well, let's see what they do. Well, that's pretty good, actually. Except for the fact that they both made theirs. Thorum, oh, I'm sorry, this is Thorum's. Yes, she still made, Alindra and Jaren both made it. He is not trained in dex, so it's going to be an 18 plus his dex, plus his level. Yeah, I'll let him have it. So he gets he still doesn't make the roll. Neither does Brax. So as they're moving around here, they're making a lot of noise, and of course there's dried leaves, and there's gleaning and stuff from the forest, and from the harvesting. And so as they get up to here, they see somebody looking at them from the window in this spot here. And a little human face pokes its head up and is like looking through the window. A little girl, and she runs back, and you see she's animated at them and trying to get their attention, and they all see her. And so they basically move to here and see if they can make that quiet. Excuse me. Let's see what they do. Oh, not good for all of them. Oh, no. A 1 is a natural failure. So none of them are quiet. I think they got a little excited because they saw somebody in a young human girl panicking seems to be inside the thing. And so they run forward, and they don't try to keep any quiet, and they run up to the window. And they're trying to hear the girl inside the window, and she's saying, "Help us! We're under attack! We're under attack!" And they're like, "Where? What's going on?" And as they're talking to the girl, around the back comes a group of 3 hobgoblins, or what they would see as they've seen hobgoblins, so they know what they are. Three hobgoblins come out from the back, look like they were on patrol, and they spot our adventurers. Hobgoblins are foul-tempered. They are human-sized. They have thick, knobby skin, and these are like red-brown skin color variations. As they come around the corner and they see them, they basically scream out and go, "Ah!" and they yell in a form of goblin that Alindra understands, but nobody else does. And she says, "Oh, they're raising the alarm. We have to get them." And so at this point, we will roll initiative. So there are 3 hobgoblins. They are going to be... They're 1 hit dice creatures. I'm going to give them 8 hit points each. They're AC 15. And they're all armed with scimitars or swords of some type. And we roll initiative. I'll be using the same colors again for everybody. This blue color will be for both the soldiers, and this is the hobgoblins. And this is based off of 10, so we're going to just drop the 10's number and just base everything upon that. So, wow, okay. Well, at least they get to activate first. So, Thorum, who was kind of following up the rear, notices them first, and he rushes forward to them. That's a pretty good jaunt, but he makes it to the first one, and he tries to swing at them to silence his screaming. So their AC is 15. Thorum, as he drew his broadsword. Actually, Jorm's pretty slow, so I'm going to say he took his whole activation to get to there. So he took his whole activation to get there, but he charged them up and is trying to keep them quiet. So we go to soldiers. Brax, seeing Thorum take off, he follows suit, and he's a little bit faster. We'll do him first because he's closer to the action. And he gets up there and he tries to swing with his long sword. He's pulled his sword. He has, some light leather armor, and he doesn't have a shield though, unfortunately. He rolls a 12. I'm going to give him a strength bonus of +2, but that's a 14. So that's still a miss. Unfortunately, he doesn't get his level bonus because he's level 0, but he does move up there, and he is trying to help out. Jaren, with his bow knocked, he moves about half up, and he shoots one of the same one that's screaming. Seems to be like the lieutenant of some type, or a leader of some type. Of at least this group, and he shoots him with. He tries to shoot him with his composite longbow. I rolled off, but I'll show you what it is. It's 5 plus his dexterity bonus, which is 4, plus his level, which is going to be. I'm sorry, he doesn't get his level bonus. You're right. They do not get his level bonus. They only get their total bonus, which is +4. So he does miss. It's a 9. So, unfortunately. As Thorum moved forward, he got too close to the to one of the soldiers. But I'm going to have Alindra. I'm trying to decide what she wants to do. She's going to stay by the window, but she is going to try and cast Sleep, which has 150 feet range, so she's plenty of range. She's going to try and cast Sleep, but try and focus it on the back hobgoblin who's far enough away from the others that if it does go off, it doesn't affect our friends, because it can affect them too if not, she's not careful. So she does 2d4. She does 6 hit dice of spells or levels. So she cast one of her spells. I forgot to put her spell points out. She has 3 mana points, and Thorum has 2. So she cast one. So she actually does knock one to sleep. The other ones are too far away because she didn't want to get risk. So one is asleep. So that at least keeps them from doing anything, or him from doing anything. And then finally, the hobgoblins go. Well, now that Jaren moved up, Thorum and Brax are both up there. They decide to split up, and they don't see the other, their friend who's knocked out, because they're both facing the enemy, and they don't have time. So the first one attacking Thorum he's using a sword. Gets a 6 plus his hit dice, which is 7, which is not enough to hit his armor AC 19. Brax has leather armor. I'm gonna give him armor class 14. Rolls a 9. Sorry, I dropped that. 9 plus 1. That's a 10. So he does miss Brax too, which is good. Back to initiative. Oh, I got to do. Sorry. I need to do Tark. He basically sprints, and it's going to take him a pretty good distance. This is about as far as he could go with a sprint. So he's moving up. So he's trying to get up there close enough. So we're back to round 2. Right there. All right. Ooh. I got a 10. Ooh, well, so did Thorum. So Thorum got a 10 also. So I am going to let him go before the hobgoblin. So he is up there now. He blocked the one hit with his shield, so he's going to swing back at the hobgoblin that attacked him. Gets a 14, and that is going to be a plus 3, 17. That is a hit. Good, solid hit. So he does 2d4 plus 3 damage. That's going to be 5 plus 3 is 8, which is just enough to put that one down. So now there's only 3 left. Well, 1 standing and 1 asleep. So now we go to the hobgoblin, who is still attacking Brax. He rolls a 14, 15. He does hit Brax. So he does it's a long sword. I'm going to say it's a scimitar of some type, so it's a d6. He does 1 point, and I'm going to say their strength is +1. So he has 2 points to Brax. So I'm going to do Brax as the d10. So he's down to 4. He got hit. And the other one's asleep right now. So Jaren moves forward a little bit closer. Now he's close enough to if he could move into close combat or shoot with his arrow. But he's going to shoot with his arrow because he's more comfortable left with that. And that was cocked. That's a 10. And that is... he gets a +4 with his composite longbow, which is enough to hit the... oh, no, it's not. He doesn't get that bonus. So it's... he barely misses. Okay, so he is done. Alindra, calming the girl down, she moves forward a little bit to join up, and she takes one of her thrown daggers and she throws it at the one attacking Brax. She rolls a 16. She's close enough now to get... she's probably enough to get... she gets a -2 to that because of the range distance and the second bar. So her her throw dagger is +4. So she's at 20. -2 is 18. So she does still hit with a dagger. Nice. So it's going to be a d4 +1 because it does get her strength bonus. So it does 3 + 1 is 4. So he's down to 4 hit points. Excellent. And then finally Brax and Tark. Tark is spending his time just running up, and Brax is going to swing. He rolls a 5. He's scared because he's not really been in fights, so he doesn't handle it very well. But he's learning. He's watching what the adventurers do, and he's trying to match them as they go. So that is turn 2, round 3. Roll these. Oh, man, They want to go for... Oh, okay, good. That's funny. All right. So that's the... Thorm is very angry. He wants to match these as they go. So it's going to be Thorm first. He's going to swing at the one that's attacking Brax. And he says, "By Doru, you will fall." And he rolls a 15. Plus his bonus of 3. It's an 18. That's a definite hit. And he does 2d4 plus 3, which is 4, 7. It's enough to drop him. And that doesn't... they don't get to activate because they're either dead or asleep. So Jaren, I'm going to drop out of combat, but they would do this anyway. Jaren would move up. He's going to tie up the one and gag the one that's asleep before he can wake up. And they're going to try and find out what's going on here. So they pull the bodies into this forest over here to keep them from being seen. And while they're trying to interrogate this guy. Now they've joined back up with their everybody's back together. They Jaren and the two soldiers are going to keep an eye out while Alindra and Thorum do some discussion with the Hobgoblin. And let's see if they can get some information from him. Neither one has charisma as their primary, but they both have pretty decent charisma. So I'm going to give them... I'm going to make it... it's an 18 base. I'm going to make it a +2 for Thorum and a plus... I'll make it +2 for both of them. So it's a 20 base they need to get. So they both have a charisma bonus of +2 plus their level, so a +3. So they need a 20 to get some kind of an information from this. And wow, they're both rolled. Both were pretty much very convincing. Thorm didn't seem to... He basically scared the Hobgoblin, where Alindra was trying to not sweet talk, but since she can understand his language, she could talk to him in more convincing manner. And she pulls the gag from his mouth, and he basically says, and basically he's yelling about something about his master's going to be angry. You're never going to survive. And he's just yelling and spouting off, and she's trying to keep him quiet, and he basically just yells, and he's like, "The Kiltar will not stand for this. Dornock will have your head." And she's like, "Who's Dornock?" And he goes, "He will have your head." And they both look at each other, and Thorm basically just raps him on the head to knock him out, so he'll shut up for a second. And they're both discussing what they think this is. The Kiltar, they never heard of them. And who's Dornock? You know? They're like, we don't know. So they think, since he's been tied up and he's been silenced, they feel like they can leave one of the soldiers there with them. I'll put him here. And they're going to try and sneak around and see what's going on. Now, the fight was pretty fast, so they didn't make a lot of noise, but there was some screaming. And they leave Brax there because he's been hurt a little bit, so they're going to leave him with the Hobgoblin. And the others start sneaking around here. Unfortunately, they're not the most sneakiest of individuals. Well, some of them are. Some of them aren't. Let's see what happens. This is a sneak roll. Well, okay. Well, I think experience helps out. I don't think he gets a... It's going to be a 20 for him. Yeah, so both Jaren and Alindra both make it. Unfortunately, the armor the armor Thorm was wearing, and the untrained skill, or having no skill of sneaking, both makes a lot of noise as they walk up. And then as they get up to the door, they basically hear a howl and a scream, and the door busts open. And inside here, they actually notice a couple of prisoners, or some people tied up at the door bust open. It's like double doors right here. Right here. The door busts open, and they run in. Well, they don't run in. They basically are stopped by these a couple of hobgoblins right here, and inside they get a quick look, and there's a few, looks like there's a few human prisoners or some humanoid prisoners inside here. And standing out the center of this thing is a large hobgoblin, and holding on a leash, he's holding, looks like a rabid, kind of a wolf of some type. And there's also 4 other hobgoblins that have pushed the door open. And in a very, very rough common, the large hobgoblin speaks, and he says, "Dornoch will kill you all. How dare you intercept and try and stop the Kiltar's rise?" And they're like, "What?" And that's where we roll initiative. So I'm going to roll 2 separate things. I'm going to roll these for the standard. I'm going to roll the red for Dornoch, and I'm going to roll yellow for the other hobgoblins. And this is initiative. It's round 1. You can see the die. Okay. And they're right here, and then this is where they are all at. Yeah, I'll do him up here. All right. Ooh. Man, Thorm is on a roll tonight. That's great, because they need to be. Oops, that was a 6. All right, so that's the order of activation. Thorm screams and says, "By the power of Doru, I will stop you in this evil act. I will stop the Kiltar, whoever they be." And he moves forward and attacks one of the hobgoblins opening the door. And I'm going to use the same stats for those hobgoblins, but the big guy is actually a 6 hit dice monster. And I'm going to give him 30 hit points. And the others are, so he is there, and they're going to have, he's armor class 19. And the others are AC 15, 1 hit dice, and I'm going to give them 5 hit points each. And I said there was 6 of them. So there's 6 hobgoblins. And of course the Dornoch, who is not very happy about being intercepted. So Thorum swings. Oh, yes, gets a 20. Now, crits how I do it. It's full damage of the weapon plus a d4, which is enough. It's going to kill this hobgoblin. So it's a 8, because he does weapon, does 2d4, plus his strength bonus, which is 3, plus that. So he does plenty enough just to kill one of the goblins straight out. So now there's down to 5. That's good, because they're going to need it. Dornoch releases his, he releases the leash off the wolf. That's right, there is a wolf. And the wolf is going to be 1 hit dice. And the wolf appears to be rabid. The wolf is, excuse me, it's 2 hit dice. It's going to be a tough fight. I'm going to make it 10 hit points. And it has an AC of 13. And it has a bite. 1 attack and a bite of 1d8. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's going to be a tough fight for our adventurers. So he releases, he's the red die. He releases the wolf. The wolf runs forward and attempts to bite Thorm, because he's the front runner. Rolls a 16 plus 1 for the wolf, or 2 plus 2 because he's 2 hit dice. But that's not enough to get through the armor class 18. The shield blocks it. And so the wolf is like trying to go after Thorum as much as it can, but he, being a stout warrior and a fighter and a cleric of Doru and of defense and home, he says, "Not today, dog." And so then, after seeing the dog and the wolf not get a hold of Thorum, Dornoch moves forward He draws a wicked-looking blade. And he attempts to swing at Thorum. Now he's got a shield that lets him block two attacks from two different opponents. Let's see what happens. A 1. Oh man, that's fortuitous. As Dornoch's drawing his blade back and he tries to swing, somehow he slips on something inside the blood off of his opponent that got one of his compatriots that got slashed apart by Thorum. He slips on it and falls on his back and drops to the ground. And he screams madly. He's like, "Ah!" Seeing as a moment to take advantage of it, Alindra, who's next, decides she will cast another sleep spell, and she can get probably 3 to 4 of them without affecting anybody around her. So she will cast, and how many hit dice does she get? She gets 4. So we are going to say that 3 of them get knocked unconscious. So there's 2 remaining standing, and there's 3 that are unconscious. Okay. Great spell use. So she's used one of her spells. She's down to 1 of non-cantrip spells for mana. Jaren moves forward, and he shoots at one of them, one of the other hobgoblins that's moving forward to Thorum. They haven't activated yet, but he's going to try and shoot at it. Gets a 19, and his bonus is +3. Excuse me, +4. So that's a 23 definite hit. He does a D8. Now, he has the ability, since he has Combat Marauder, he gets +1 damage. It's basically +1 his level, plus his level against humanoids and giants. So he gets +1 to this die roll fighting hobgoblins, since they are humanoids. So he does 8 points, 7 + 1. Enough to knock, he just basically notches the arrow right through the thing's forehead and just drops to the ground. So there's 1 remaining. Great shot. They need this because they're going to get outnumbered quickly and outperformed. So the other hobgoblin, who's still remaining, he's kind of looking around, sees his leader on the ground, but screaming and yelling. He decides it's best just to keep fighting. He moves forward and tries to attack Thorum. Now he doesn't get the shield bonus, but he rolls a 16. And the shield bonus is +2, +1. Okay, so he has an armor class 18 versus this, so he still misses barely by 1. That's great. And the others are asleep. There's nothing else inside the barn except for some tied up prisoners, and there's some other stuff in the back, like stacked hay and some stacked supplies. But they can see the humans are basically screaming, they're all tied up and have they're gagged and stuff. Looks like they've been beaten pretty bad. So now it's the soldier's turn. Tark moves forward to attack the hobgoblin that attacked Thorum. Rolls a 9. That was a good shot, but he doesn't get any bonuses, so he does miss. And Brax, seeing the activity, moves forward. And he's going to come over and help out. He doesn't realize that he should stay there, but they're young and experienced, so they're doing what they think they should do best. So, time for initiative. Yeah. All these. All right. Wow. Okay. There. Can you see those? Yes. All right. They are 8. He lost this time. All right. So I'm going to let Alindra go first because she's got a pretty high dex. She retrieved her other dagger from the fight before. So she, having 1 spell left, she decides it's time to see if she can drop the other orc. So she cast Magic Missile at him, using her last spell point, her mana point. This does D4 plus, it automatically hits, does 3 points of damage, 2 + 1. So it's down to 2 hit points. That's all right. It was worth it. She had a chance to take him out. So Dornoch stands up. He's mad. He's angry. He stands up. He spends his time. So he's too far away to attack anybody. So he stands up and moves forward to engage, but he doesn't have enough activity enough left to attack. That's his action. Thorum decides to, it's time to start taking on the big guy. So he turns his attention towards Dornoch, and he sneers at him and says, "Now it's time for you to face the wrath of Doru." And he swings, and I think Doru is listening, but wants Thorum to keep fighting strong. Rolls a 9 total, misses. The two guards, soldiers, both attack. Well, the first one will be Tark, because he was there first. He's going to attack the one that was attacked, the other hobgoblin. Oh, that was a 16, but it rolled over to an 8, so he misses. And Brax, who runs forward, who's now there, attempts to attack. He rolls a 14. And that is an AC 14. Oh, they miss by 1. So, almost. And then the other hobgoblin hits Thorum. Yep, it was a 20. Ouch. So that's going to be D6. 2. And they don't get any bonus. So that's 8 points on Thorum. Ah. He's like, no! We must stop these. And then Jaren draws his blade and he moves forward. He says, I will stop them. And he attempts to go after Dornoch. Now he's got enough speed he can move around. He's actually going to flank him and get a +2 to hit. Unfortunately, he rolls a 9 +2 plus his bonus, which is going to be a total of 6. That's a 15. That's a miss still. But that's all right. He's trying to use maneuvers. But you also notice that the hobgoblins are trying to use some of their maneuvering too. Time for round 3. Can they stop them before it gets too late? 6, 2, 4. Wow, everyone's low this time, but that's okay. Whoops, that was a 2. So Dornoch attempts to attack Thorum. Oh, he does miss. 11. So they can't get around it because the other they can't send anybody behind. None of the hobgoblins there's 3 asleep and there's only 1 fighting, but they can't capitalize on having a larger number. But he rolls an 11. He's a 17. He misses because he gets +6 for his hit dice. He misses. Wow. Okay. Thorum decides it's time to call upon the healing power of Doru and cast Cure Light Wounds on himself. Comes off. And gets a 6. Good. So he's down. He's back up to 8. Okay. That was his basic activity. And then now it's Alindra's turn. She's going to go and dispatch one of the ones that are sleeping before they can wake up. So she did that. And then the one awake going after 17 plus 1 is an 18. He still cannot hit Thorum. He got a good lucky swing, but he can't do anything about it. And now the soldiers, one of the soldiers seeing Alindra doing what she did, Brax walks up and dispatches one of the sleeping ones just because they have to stop them before they wake up or they're going to lose this battle. And then Tark attempts to attack the one that's fighting. Oh man, he rolled a 12, so he still missed. And then finally, Jaren, swinging at Dornoch. He's got flank bonus now. Rolls a 7, so he still can't pull off a hit. So that's going to be +2, plus a 4, 6, 13. Not enough to hit him. So we're back up to the round 4. Ooh. Ah, man, he's going. Okay, that's good. 15, 4. I'm going to make them go last. Okay, so Alindra dispatches the last sleeping one on her action. And then Dornoch attempts to attack Thorum and rolls an 8 plus 6, 14. Not enough to hit him. Good deal. Keep blocking those with those shields. He's pretty heavily armored. He's got AC 19. That's pretty good. But he needs it because they're going to lose this because he's got a lot of hit points to get through. Tark yells at Brax, says, "Get over here and fight this thing." Misses by 1. Their AC is 15. Yes. All right. Brax does get a hit. A critical. So that's going to be, they're going to use Longsword's D8, so that's 8 points plus a D4. And it's enough to kill the remaining hobgoblins. So that's great. So now we have no... So Brax runs forward as he's emboldened by his friends fighting, and he basically runs the sword right through the chest of the hobgoblin, and he is now fallen. So there's only the leader left, Dornoch, fighting. So they're out of combat. Jaren, who has flanking advantage, rolls a 12. Oops, sorry, it was a 12. He gets a 4, 6, plus a 2, 18. He barely misses because he gets a +4 for the weapon and his strength. And then Thorum attempts to swing at him. He gets flanked also. No, he doesn't, because it's only the person on the rear gets it. So that's a total miss. Man, these guys are having a hard time getting this 18, 19. So 8. Nice. Well, I guess they're... All right. Storm will go first. It's round 5. He rolls a 1, so he drops his sword as he's fighting. And fortunately, though, his shield's still up, and then he rolls a 6 plus 12. He misses. Jaren, getting a +2, swinging his sword, finally gets a 19. It's enough to hit. Not critical, but it's enough to hit. He does D8 plus his strength bonus. Now, this creature is not fey or anything, so it doesn't need anything special to him being a silvered or a cold wrought iron weapon, but he still does 8 points plus his strength bonus +3, so 11 damage. Good, solid hit. It's down to 19. Still a lot to go, but that's great. They needed that hit. Alindra, attempting to figure out what's going on, she pulls one of her daggers and throws it at, trying to distract Dornoch. Gets a 14. The dagger. She has a +4. Oh man, it's an 18. Barely, but it misses. It sticks into one of the posts behind Dornoch. And finally, the 2 soldiers. They both try and they don't have rear attack. They get flanked. So I'm going to give them +1 on this roll. So the first one gets a 12. That's a 13. That's a miss. That was Tark. And then Brax, who feels emboldened. He just can't get a swing, and that was a +1. So that's an 8 total. We're at top of round 6. Seems like there's nobody else coming to the fight, so maybe they can dispatch of him before they get any other enemies come here, if there are any enemies left. All right, 20. Wow, all right, well, okay. You got a 10. That was a good roll, but Dornoch attacks. It got up there too. So Jaren, who has back attack. Oops, I'm getting stuck. Okay, there we are. 14 plus 2 plus 4, 6, 20. He does get a hit. Great. 5 plus 3 is going to be 8 damage. Excellent. So he's down to 11. Now he gets to go. Now he's mad at Jaren because he keeps attacking him. So he's going to turn his attention on him. Oh, and he rolls a 1. So he drops his weapon and kind of slips a little bit. So he won't be able to do much next turn except for a recover from falling. And so that's what's happening with this turn with Thorum, is that he's trying to recover from slipping and almost losing his grip and losing his weapon. He picks up the broadsword again. The soldiers. All right. Tark gets 19. So he does a D8. 7. All right. They get a +2. I'm going to give him +2 because they do have some strength. Nice hit. So he's down to 2 hit points. He's barely alive, but they got to stop this guy. And so does Brax. 15 plus 1, 16. That's not enough. And then finally, Alindra. she has enough to, she's going to try and sneak behind. Oh, she can't. So she won't be able to get back attack. But she will swing. And not enough to hit him. All right. Round 7. And he doesn't seem to be giving up. He's just so angry. And he's kind of like gone into kind of a frenzy now, which is actually scary. So hopefully they can go before he can. Well, that's actually a good roll. They actually, his wounds and stuff are starting to make him slow down a little bit. And they seem to all be able to go first. Alindra is attempting to still do a back around. She gets an 8 plus 2. Musali, 16, 14. That's not enough to beat his 18. She needs an 18 or 19 to get behind him. So she's still going to swing at him. And she misses. She rolled a 6, plus her bonuses, but not enough to hit him. Tark, emboldened by his last swing, attempts to swing, but no, he just can't get a hit on the big guy. And so Brax does the same thing and rolls a 3, so he can't do anything. Thorum, recovering from his last swing, takes it from his dropping of the sword, yells out to Doru and says, "Guide my hand, Doru." And he rolls a 9. He gets the flanking bonus this time because the creature has turned around. Dornoch has turned around to him, so that's plus 5. Not enough. 14. Not enough. Now Jaren, who has the full attention of Dornoch now, will attempt to swing. And he rolls a 15. Plus 4 is a 19. Just enough. And I think that's enough to dispatch him. He parries a few swings from Dornoch, and Dornoch, who had been kind of lost his balance a little bit, didn't have a capable chance to stop the swing, but the one blow made a stroke true and struck him in the neck and knocked out Dornoch for good. He fell. Now we're out of initiative. Great job. They needed that. All right. So they go and free the prisoners, and they realize that they discuss what happened, and the prisoners basically tell them that, you know, the people that lived here, that's who were the prisoners here, lived at Haavermill. And basically they say that they were overtaken one night, and these hobgoblins came in and captured the town, and they basically were selling the goods and stuff, sending it to the north through some small wooded paths and stuff, and through some trails and stuff. So they basically lost all of their goods, and they were taken from somewhere, and the goods were taken, but they don't know where they were taken. They just know that they went north somewhere, and they've been prisoner here. The kids were locked up in the small building over here, and everybody else was tied up and held in here. Nobody was killed, fortunately, but they were very much treated very badly for the past 3 days. So our adventurers help them as best they can, recovering any kind of wounds or health and food, and they give them some sustenance, and then they search the body to find out what they find out what they can locate, what these creatures are, where the creatures come from, where the hobgoblins come from, where they originate from, what were they doing here, and why were they taking the goods from this small settlement. So they are treasure type 1, but I'm going to increase the bonus to treasure type 2 because they faced off against Dornoch. So I'm going to give them a chance to have a little bit more. So there is no gold. They don't find any gold. They find probably smattering of a little bit of coin here and there, but not worth anything. Do they find any gems? 40. No. Do they find any extraordinary items? No. And do they find any magic items? Ooh, odd 4. So they do find a magic item. So the max value of the magic item is going to be about 200 gold. I'm not going to limit them if they find something good. So here's what they find for the magic item. 57. That is going to be armor and shield. Oh, it's probably worn by Dornoch. That's cool. What kind of armor and shield do they find? Oh, leather armor. Nice. So they find leather. What's the percentage? What's the bonus? 22. So that's going to be a +1. That's nice still. +1 leather armor. And as they're taking the leather armor from Dornoch, the rest of the weapons and stuff were pretty brutal. They're rusted. I mean, his great sword is basically a rusted piece of metal that's been, shaved down and made into a weapon, but it was not worth anything. But they do find a pendant on Dornoch, and you got to excuse the artwork, but this is just a quick drawing thing from me. They find a pendant that's hanging from his neck, and it looks like that. So they ask the inhabitants here. They say, "Have you seen this before? Do you know what this is?" And they say, "No, we don't." So they take it. They go tie up the other there is one hobgoblin left. So they go and they take the hobgoblin that's tied up here, and they help for a day. They help the survivors get back on their feet. They spend the day there. They rest there. They clean up the dead bodies. They go bury the hobgoblins somewhere, removing them. And they do tie up the other hobgoblin. They're going to take him back and use him and figure out who they were and what they were doing at the farmstead. And so that's what's going to happen. I will do XP in a little bit, but they do find leather armor and they do find that pendant. And nothing else really of importance. One of the farmstead inhabitants basically mentioned something about, he kept mentioning about a meeting somewhere with Karnos. But he kept mentioning Karnos and something like, at full moon or something. But they don't know who Karnos is. But that is something that they could use. They're going to go back. Fortunately, they have, before the full moon, they have got a week or so before that happens. So that's going to happen. They're going to help the individuals in the farmstead, and then they're going to head back to. They're going to head back to Uruk, and and we will continue this story. Maybe they can find out what the runes were on the statue, and maybe they can figure out what this K or the symbol of the pendant looks like, and who the Kiltar are, and who is this Karnas. Or Karnos. So that's it for tonight. They had a big fight, and that had a potential to go south really fast, but fortunately they knocked out a few of the hobgoblins before they could respawn, and the fight was happening so fast that the other hobgoblins didn't get a chance to clean up or wake up the others that fall asleep. So they do have a prisoner, so they can find out some of that next time, and we will discuss that next adventure. We'll find out where they go. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been fun running these. It's just for fun. It's nothing, I'm not trying to, as you can tell, my artwork is just minimal, but it's something that's for fun, and I enjoy running these little sessions. It's something I can tell a little story with and see the adventures expand and some stories in a world that I've developed. So I appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and if you have any comments or questions, please post them under the video, and I will see you guys next time.